In the last video, we looked at how learning happens in the brain, focusing on the cognitive aspects. In this video, we will briefly address the social and emotional aspects of learning. One essential affective component of learning is motivation, which is what directs our attention and mental resources to a given task. If we're not motivated, chances are we are not going to complete the task, not do it well, or not learn from it. There are many models of motivation that dig much deeper than whether the student is intrinsically or extrinsically motivated. In this chart, you can see the elements of 4 different motivational frameworks related to learning from the Learning Engineering Toolkit. I will add a 5th here that I found really helpful, Keller's ARCS model of motivation. The A stands for attention, the R for relevance, the C for competence, and the S for satisfaction. Generally, what most models agree on is that students like to have some control over their learning. They need to believe that they are able to complete the task successfully, and there needs to be some meaning or relevance to their own values and interests. Humans are social creatures. We are deeply motivated by other people and by our connections to other people. We can take advantage of this in our teaching in several ways. For example, our brains are primed to learn from stories about people. So presenting our content in context with an interesting story about a person they can relate to can really help your learners to remember your course content. As I mentioned in the last video on the cognitive aspects of learning, the more you recall information from long-term memory, the stronger the memory trace, and the more we think about something, the more we remember it. The memory trace becomes even stronger when we talk to other people about what we are thinking and learning. This is one of the benefits of collaborative learning. Talking about something we are learning requires us to formulate our thoughts about the content in a way that others will understand, requiring us to think deeply about the content and organize it in our minds. Our peers are then able to question our understanding and recognize misunderstandings. When we are required to defend our understanding, this solidifies the semantic memory even stronger. An added benefit of students learning together is that because they are new to the content, they can often better explain puzzling aspects of it than the teacher may have assumed they already know. This is sometimes referred to as the expert blind spot or the curse of expertise. Understanding how learning happens is only helpful when we can operationalize this knowledge in our practice in the classroom. This chart from the Learning Engineering Toolkit summarizes some of the elements of the learning sciences and how we can address them in our work with students. For example, to create or improve the conditions of learning, we can work on student agency, which is what people think about how their own learning matters. Their cognitive abilities, so improving learners' capacity to learn, the hierarchy of needs, fostering their psychological and emotional well-being and physiological, personalizing, using learner models to inform tailored interventions, and variability, learning is different for everyone. We can help learners understand new ideas by moving from concrete to abstract, starting with concrete examples and then expanding. Providing feedback. Effective feedback is specific, timely, and actionable. With metacognition, helping grow or scaffold metacognitive thinking. By thinking of our students as novices versus experts, and helping our novice learners see and build connections. Through productive failure, making sure that our students feel safe to fail, and we provide feedback that can aid learning. Through scaffolding, giving supports to make the task just challenging enough, but not too challenging. And with spaced learning, mitigating forgetting by studying over time. We can help learners retain knowledge by using active learning strategies, foster learning through doing, by managing cognitive load, avoiding working memory overload, and helping them make connections, emphasize cognitive connections and transferability, and helping them to make personal connections with the content using authentic, personally meaningful tasks. And by remembering the zone of proximal development, find the just right challenge level for our students. We can help learners apply their knowledge by setting challenges at the right level of desirable difficulty, by using their prior experience, because remember, there is no learning from scratch, by reinforcing, so helping our students to use it or lose it, and with transfer, helping our learners apply their knowledge into new contexts, and by unlearning, helping our learners to let go of biases and misconceptions. We can help our learners build expertise through communities where they foster real-world applications through social learning. With memory, helping them build long-term versus short-term or working memory. And with mentorship, providing model ideas and skills. And again, remembering that these are novices, not experts. We can motivate learners by remembering what those core drives of motivation are. Tap into the learner's core drives to foster motivation. With engagement, remembering that motivation is learner-centric. By remembering the hierarchies of needs, remember that we need to take care of the physiological, psychological, and emotional well-being before we address the course content. By looking at motivation types, considering intrinsic versus extrinsic motivators, and with relevance, making sure that we're using authentic, personally meaningful tasks. Finally, we can measure learning and optimize feedback. So giving feedback, we want to make sure that it's effective by being specific, timely, and actionable, that we help students with metacognition, so help grow or scaffold their metacognitive thinking, remembering the difference between novices and experts, and helping our novice learners see and build connections. With productive failure, providing safe places for failure and providing feedback to aid learning. And with scaffolding, so giving our students the support that makes the task just challenging enough. This sounds like a tall order, but technology can really help us facilitate all of these processes. Here's an example. I've compiled in Quizlet a list of some helpful evidence-based instructional practices that are compatible with how we learn. Quizlet can be a really helpful tool for learning content because it uses the retrieval practice in both recognition and recall formats, spaced practice, and interleaving. To make the most of this tool, use the Learn feature where you will study the terms with multiple choice options, then as flashcards where you quiz yourself, then fill in the blank to really test your knowledge. It's a good idea to schedule short study sessions spaced throughout the week, giving yourself a chance to partially forget the information so it is harder to retrieve. Those are some of the fundamentals of the cognitive, affective, and social processes underlying how learning happens, as well as some of the instructional strategies that capitalize on the science of learning. When using educational technology, it is important to remember how learning happens so that we can choose the tools that will facilitate this process.